Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I just wanted to talk about a favourite set of rules that we haven't had out for a long while at the club, and we had our first game for many years on Friday. That was Altaroffreedom from GregWagman. Those that have watched my review video will know my love for this set of rules. Fantastic publication. It's quite old now in the grand scheme of things, but still for me one of the best. American Civil War style of rules, grand tactical, very strategic, lots of tension, lots of friction built into the game. It's a great game, and the game Friday just re-emphasised our love for this game. The scenario we chose was Championhill. This is Grant marching to Vicksburg, May 1863. So this is Grant versus Pemberton, the battle outside of Vicksburg on what was Championhill and the surrounding area. So the idea of the game was the Confederates start quite strong. They've got to basically stop the Federal player crossing over the river, and there's only one crossing point in this scenario, so they've got to hold that bridge open for Confederate reinforcements further down the line, and the Union have basically got to push them out and stop their exit and reinforcement supply lines. So Championhill is played on a 4x4 map, as you will see on the screen. There's some interesting scenery on there. We've got some large hills, Championhill being one, lots of sort of woodland fields, and obviously the river and the bridge crossing. Because of the rains, the other crossing point was already awash and couldn't get troops over there, so that gives the Confederates a very good defensive position. I took the Confederates, my colleague took the Union, and I suppose my plan was to firstly ensure that the Union forces could not advance across that bridge and that defensive position. However, on reflection, that should have been my secondary plan. I think my primary plan should have been to attack before the Union forces got stronger, because as the game went on, the forces of the Union got stronger and stronger. It's a clever little scenario. It's a small scenario for 2 to 3 players. Game length is 8 turns. We played up to about the end of turn 6 before we ran out of time, but that was probably 2 or 3 hours play. As I say, the game pretty much went along the lines of me deploying out on the far side of the river, some forces on Championhill, some to the right flank of that, and I had a small cavalry unit out on the far side on one of the main roads, observing what the Union forces were doing. Grant's limited troops under McPherson sort of came onto the table. The Union player is a bit hampered with his points that he can use to activate units to start with, priority points. So the early turn saw the Confederates getting control of the turn clock and being able to do things. I chose not to do too much, and I should have taken the initiative at that point, pushed out and tried to isolate, divide and conquer some of the Union forces. There's a nice little mechanic in the scenario about McClellan for the Union. Historically, he was quite late in coming into the battle after being told to get in, and the scenario encompasses that, with the Union player rolling after turn 2 to see if he can get McClellan to come in. McClellan obviously had a very late breakfast because he didn't arrive until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, much to the consternation of my buddy. And so the Union were a little bit hampered in getting forward aggressively until that point. But forces were building up, and the Confederates were starting to feel that squeeze and actually had to start retiring back towards the river. We ended up in a unorthodox fishhook formation, very Gettysburgish, but this time it was the Confederates formed in a kind of fish hook, with the hook around the mouth of the river and the hook coming back over the high ground looking out onto the right flank. And that's how the game ended, really, with the Union pushing up towards that line, and eventually they would have punched that. I was playing for time, but I think, as I say, the scenario would have lent itself to the Confederate player being a bit more aggressive at the outset, and maybe them falling back into that defensive position. The Confederate player has some pretty strong units, but obviously it's a limited resource. But I took some photographs of the table which my brother kindly set up. It's a beautiful table, and I've also taken a few videos for you to enjoy at the end of this video, just to sort of get a flavour of how that game panned out and what it looked like visually. But I hope that's another nice little video showing the merits of Altaroffreedom. Well worth a look. GregWagman's rules are excellent, as is the scenario for Championhill, which is a great little starter scenario. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Enjoy seeing some of the film I've taken now, and look forward to seeing you again next time.